because after h6 I can go here, and if takes, now I'm getting checkmate. It doesn't look so easy to defend. I traveled across the world just to play my neighbor. This is round 7 of the Ceske Budejovice Open in the Czech Republic. It's game in 90 with an increment 30. So 90 minutes per side, 30-second bonus per move, and I'm playing someone who lives, he's not technically my neighbor, but he is just across the town that we live in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. So, and we came to the tournament as a group to the Czech Republic, and now I'm playing him. He does not have a perfect score. I have 6 out of 6, and he has like 4.5 out of 6. But because there's no more people for me to play that have the same score as me, I have to start playing down, and I am playing my good friend Dr. Dave Kennedy. He's not just my friend. He has been my chess mentor. When I first started college, I was 1,000 USCF, and he was 1,700 USCF, but now I'm 1,900 USCF, and I was 1,800 FIDE, and I've been 2,200 chess.com rapid. So, like, you know, and he was much better than me when I first started playing chess, and when I first met him. So I've asked for his advice a lot of times, but now I am the one that has the upper hand, at least on paper. And spoiler alert, I get a really crushing position against the Kann, but I make things way more complicated than it has to be. So with that being said, let's hop right into it. I play e4, and I know Doc, that's what us chess club people call him. I know Doc plays a bad variation against the fantasy variation. I play the fantasy, it's my main weapon against the Kann, and I know Doc likes to exchange on e4 and play knight f6. This is bad. Usually, if you exchange on e4, you almost have to play e5. Controlling, like, it's very principled in the sense that you are putting a claim in the center. Because playing f3 is just weird. You know, you're not supposed to play f3 or f6 this early in the opening. So, but like the idea is that if you take, I have the big WC, the big white center. I have a huge center, and black has to be very careful, and they have to be kind of precise. And you can get away with playing a move like e5, because if white takes, then black can go queen h4 check and pick up the pawn in e4. For example, g3 takes, and spaghettios. It's not super good. So, so you have to play e5 and then develop his other pieces. But because he played knight f6 first, now I play e5. You know, I'm gaining the space, and now you can never play e5, and so black wastes a lot of time. So I knew he was going to play this bad. He wasn't, or I expected him to not play e5 himself, to exchange on e4 and not play e5, and now you know, his knight's under attack. He plays bishop g4. Danger levels, contact my queen. I block it, and we exchange, and then he puts his knight on d5. I play c4, gaining more space in the center. I want to play the maximalist approach here. I want to, you know, really come in guns blazing. I want to get this game over with. You know, this is, you're my friend, but now you are my foe. So I develop my knight. He plays e6. A small note is that if he did play knight b6 instead of knight t7, so the knight b6 might feel more natural, but the idea of knight t7 is to guard the e6 square. Because if you play knight b6 here, the knight is attacking c4 and the queen doesn't have vision on d4, but now I could consider playing e6. And if you take, now I'll play knight f3. And now it's really going to be hard for you to develop your bishop this way. And if you play like g6, for example, well, you know, I could play, you know, queen e5. And if rook g8, I want to play queen takes e6. And it's really, really uncomfortable here. You know, like black would just be unable to castle here, and actually, black is getting really close to, you know, getting checkmated here. So black has to be very careful. I guess in this case, maybe, you know, queen can take, but even then, it feels like black is behind too many moves. They've lost too much time. So that's why knight c7 is actually better, because it guards e6. I play knight f3, he plays e6, and he just develops, and we both end up castling. Except, I guess he doesn't castle. He develops his other knight first. If he did castle, it does look pretty scary. It does look pretty scary. I will probably... well, I could play knight e4 now, and potentially play c5 and knight d6. I could do that. Or I could play knight g5, something like this, and try to induce him to play h6, and try to attack on the king side as much as possible. There are definitely different options here. Probably castling is best, just because you need to castle. But I will probably play knight e4, and after knight d7, maybe play bishop g5, and after takes and h6, maybe I might be able to get away with queen e4. Oh wait, no, because after pawn takes, the queen guards g5 still. So that's not good. But yeah, there's definitely things I could consider here. Maybe this knight, because after h6 I can go here, and if takes, now I'm studying checkmate. It doesn't look so easy to defend. Yeah, this looks better. This looks better, yeah. But that's just an example of how things can go awry. So it's definitely scary to castle kingside here. So that's why Doc develops his knight first, but it's still not quite good enough. I centralize my knight on e4. He plays h6 to prevent any knight g5 or bishop g5 shenanigans. I guess more like knight f g5 to attack f7 and bring my queen in. I guess that's the scary part. But now I play knight d6. And of course, if you go king f8, I could consider just knight takes f7. Potentially, I don't remember if it works here or not, because there is a double check in this position. But you know, at a bare minimum, yeah, maybe this isn't that great. Actually, I guess, yeah, it's not great. I don't think, actually. I think it's okay at best. Yeah, although I could play queen g4 though. Yeah, I could play queen g4. But at this point, black, kind of has enough material to just sacrifice the queen. So, anyways, so maybe I wouldn't have played knight takes f7. I could also just consider knight takes b7 at a bare minimum. After like queen b8, for example, then I could go back to d6. At a minimum, maybe there's something even better. Anyways, but he plays h6, and then takes my knight on d6. And this bishop, the dark square bishop for black in 99% of KR cons is so important. You only want to trade your dark squared bishop as black for white's dark squared bishop, or unless if you are going to win an exchange, something like that, then of course that's different. But in terms of like equal trades for minor pieces, you almost never want to give up your dark squared bishop. But in this case, Doc felt like he had to. He played knight a6. I played knight e5, just centralizing my knight, offering more trades, attacking f7. Here, if you do castle, it does look quite scary here. Like maybe I could even just take on h6 now. I have no idea, probably not, but maybe. For example, queen h5, king g7, rook f3, and if you do end up taking, then it looks really dangerous, to say the least. Yeah. Actually, what are you gonna do? If you just keep moving your knight here, I'm gonna play rook f6, and you can't defend your pawn, because if you do this, then I'm just going to take, and it's checkmate. So very hard to play as black. So he doesn't castle. He takes on e5. I take back with the queen. I thought about taking back with the pawn. But I like taking back with the queen because it does attack g7, so it does make it a bit harder to castle here. Also, I can still play c5. I can play c5 at any moment to solidify the pawn structure like that. I think earlier here, I thought about playing c5 now. Oh, I also thought about playing d5. Yeah, actually, I thought for a while here. I guess only 4 minutes, but I did think about playing d5 a lot because this pawn is pinned to the king, and I was like, okay, well, maybe this is good. And looking at it now, it doesn't look bad at all, but I'm just not sure. For example, maybe like pawn takes, and knight c5. I guess I can play b4. I was just thinking that if like pawn takes and knight takes, you know, what did I really accomplish? I mean, it doesn't look bad for white at all, but is it really better than my alternatives? I guess, though, if you play knight c5, I guess I could play b4. And then after the knight moves back, then take on e6. Maybe this was still the best idea to play d5 now. Because it is very, you know, explosive, active. I'm taking advantage of his king, all that jazz. So maybe d5 was better, but in the game I just decided on knight e5 because I thought my position was really, really great. And he ended up going queen e7 because he wants to prioritize development and get the heck out of there. Once again, if we do castle kingside, it is quite scary in this position. Maybe I could still go takes, and rook f6. That's definitely a possibility, perhaps. And what is this knight doing on a6? Like, am I really down a piece? It sure don't feel like it. You know, it sure don't feel like it. You know, he's the one. You know, this knight's like on the edge of the board. It's gonna take a while to get in. So, you know, if he defends, then I can just double up here. And you know, what are you doing here? You know, because even of course, like if you go here, then there's a discovered checks, which looks very annoying. So, and I think this is definitely still winning for white. Okay, but he plays queen d7, and he, if he castles now, then, you know, I will take on f7 and ruin his day. So after I take on g7, he, you know, defends his f7 pawn, and then I take on h6, so now I'm threatening the rook, and then he castles. And, you know, I definitely considered, you know, taking the rook, winning 2 rooks for the queen, but I was like, that's unnecessary. It is winning. I do think this is winning. I'm just up 3 pawns, but that's unnecessary. In hindsight, I think I should have just gone for it and just like this game would have been so much easier to win. You know, I think in a position like this, for me, it's hard to figure out what he's even going to do. I guess maybe he'll play like knight b4. I guess. Just play h4. Like, what is he going to do? Like, legitimately, what is he going to do? If he goes here, I can go... Oh, wait, I guess that's a threat. Knight c2 is a threat. Oh, I could go h5, honestly. Because if it takes, then h6. And if, like, queen d8, then rook takes. And, like, queen h4, then check, and like here, and this is very good. Although in this case, okay, there's no forced draw. So anyways, I'm way deep in the weeds. Point is, this position is winning. So I should have gone for this, but instead I'm like, I'm winning regardless. Move my bishop back to g5, attacking the rook, and the ideal situation is if he would go rook e8. Bishop here, rook, queen takes, and I'm just gonna dominate. You know, this bishop and pawn here really cut off the circulation of his position. But instead, he goes rook g8 immediately, which is kind of what I expected. I go queen e5, defending my pawn. Queen f6 is I'll probably get kicked out with rook g6 anyways. Although in this case, I could win an exchange. So I guess I could have gone queen f6, but after rook f8, for example, I really just wanted to get my bishop to e7 as fast as possible. So, but maybe queen f6 probably isn't bad either. And instead I played queen e5, and then he sacrifices his rook. So now I'm up 2 pawns and an exchange. So this should just be a very easy position to convert, but I take a long time, and I do not play precisely, and actually I completely throw away my position in a potentially worse endgame. At the very least, it's really hard to find the win, if there is one. Okay. He takes the pawn. So now he's down an exchange and 1 pawn. Okay. I defend. I centralize my rook. I defend my pawn. He plays f5 because his f7 pawn is hanging. Honestly, maybe I should just take on f7 because check. Oh, wait. He does have back rank threats. But in this case, queen d1 can be met with rook f1. But then queen d6, and what am I doing? I'm still up in exchange in a pawn, but maybe this is better what happened in the game. Maybe, yeah. So I centralize my rook, plays f5 to defend his f7 pawn. I play queen f6. Potentially vying queen e5, overprotecting my d4 pawn. I guess I'm not overprotecting, I'm just defending it. And more importantly, I'm also covering h8. I'm also, and if he moves his rook to e8, I have rook takes f5 tactics, because after pawn takes, the queen is hanging on d6. So there's definitely, I felt like queen f6 was a very nice move to also cover h8, because now rook h8 would threaten checkmate, and it's probably nothing to worry about. But like, for example, like if I got really lazy, and let's say like I play like queen d2, rook h8, queen a5. Oh, let's say, how should I put this? Hey, queen g, no, not that move. Queen c1, yeah. Rook h8, h3. He could sacrifice his rook and then get a perpetual. So like that's, if I get lazy, he can do that stuff. So I have to be cognizant of like rook sacrifices like that to get perpetuals. So I go queen f6 because now I never have to worry about his rook getting to h8 because I cover that square. He rotates his knight. He wants to get his knight to the game, and I make his life easy. I play d5, and I don't even understand what I was thinking because he just takes and just wins a pawn. And I swear there was an idea behind it. Like, I swear I was, there was some sort of idea behind it. Like, basically, I just wanted to force trades. Because, if he takes this way, then great. I win my pawn back with check at a bare minimum. Maybe I trade and then win my pawn. But this is just not good. Like this is just not good. It just wins a pawn. And so I go from being up in exchange in 2 pawns to being up in exchange with 1 pawn to being just up in exchange, which is still fine. But now his knight has a beautiful outpost. It's d5 square. This knight was on the edge of the board. My advantage wasn't the fact that I was up in exchange. It is that, but also my advantage was that his knight sucked, but now his knight is great. His knight went from his worst piece to his best piece. And more importantly, this e-pawn could potentially have a silver, a red carpet straight to a queen land, So I rotate my queen back because it's being hit by the knight. Goes king b8 to get his king to safety. I put my rook on the c file, and he plays e5. So what is his biggest asset? His biggest asset is, well, this knight's very good, but also this pawn is a passed pawn, and if he can roll it down the board, he's just going to be better. So I play queen c5 to offer a queen trade. He plays queen e6, and really, this is where I go in the tank, because I'm like, oh my goodness, like what am I going to do? If I just blindly start like throwing everything at him, like a4, e4, b4, e3, and like, bro, this pawn is going. Like, this pawn is running as fast as possible. And I was trying to evaluate this position, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, what am I doing? Like, is this actually good for me? And maybe even go knight f4 in this position to go knight d3, and it's a triple whammy. It's a triple whammy. I'm like, dude, there are so many ways for me to lose. Now, if I'm like, okay, easy peasy, easy game, 1 in exchange, 1, 2 pawns, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, but now suddenly the counterplay is beginning. So I go rook fd1, and I just have a threat. If he goes e4, I'm just going to take. Guys, if he takes with the queen, now I have the little cheapo of back rank checkmate. So I just, a little bit of tactic there. Like, hey, Hey Doc, let me test your tactics here real quick. I'm gonna give you a little test. But as you can tell by my time usage, I think for about 14 minutes or something like that, because I'm worried about my position. I thought I was, absolutely killing, but now I'm like, oh, wait, my life is really difficult. So he plays b6 to avoid any back rank check issues, and now I play queen c6. He plays queen d6, and I breathe a huge sigh of relief. A huge sigh of relief. With queens off the board, I have a lot less to worry about. With queens on the board, this is not so clear because of his passed pawn and because he can always create threats on my own king. He can make counter threats. One thing I thought he might do was play queen f7. I thought this might be something that he does. I have no further infiltration squares, and one thing I was calculating was a4, e4, a5, and if he goes e3, I forget what I was going to do here. I guess I would probably take on b6, probably. Although I guess in this case, I could go a6, because if e2, I could take, and I have the same back rank checkmate, because this pawn acts as a barricade. So this would be checkmate here. So maybe I would have gone a6 and like threatened his king. So maybe this position is still winning, but I would have had to triple check my calculations. So this is probably still winning for me, but I was definitely thought after the queen d6, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take. And I think he misevaluated this endgame, I think, because his knight is pinned to his rook, and my rook cuts off his king from getting closer. Those two things combined make me win the game on the spot. I play king f2, centralizing my king, preventing the knight from going to e3. Not that it could go to e3 now, but I just centralize my king a little bit, stop the pawn from going, so once the pawn gets to e3, I can just blockade it. Moves his king forward, I go h4. So now if we go rook c6, I can take, king takes, rook takes, king takes, and h5. I guess the king gets in the box. So the king gets in the box, so I shouldn't do that. But rook c6 here, for example, probably just take. And at a bare minimum, my pawns, I have pawns on two sides of the board, so the knight cannot cover everything. So I'm just up in a clean exchange, and if he goes here, I probably shouldn't push that pawn, huh? It's too weak. Yeah, I guess in this case, I could consider something like rook d4. But now if it goes king d6, I can infiltrate maybe and try to attack some of his pawns. Yeah, that's something I could consider for sure. And now I can probably wait to push for the right moment. He'll still be winning just fine though. But instead, he plays a5, and I'm gonna go h5. His rook and knight. His knight's still pinned to his rook. His king is still cut off. So I just push the pawn. And now, if you do the same thing, well, now I believe the king cannot get in the square. It's always one square too late. So if he had wanted to do that, he can no longer do it. So he plays e4. And I saw this move from afar. So, because his one starts a counterplay. For example, if I play h6, he can go e3 check, king here, and knight f4 check. And he can win the pawn on h6. So after e4, I immediately went rook here. Because if it goes g4, now I can go rook c5, and it's game over. I do have to worry about some tactics though. Like for example, e3 check, King e1 is probably my move. Yeah, king e1 is probably my move. I have to be careful, not king e2, but king e1, because now the knight's still pinned. And it's still a little bit complicated, but it should just be winning all the same. So go rook c4 to cover the f4 square after he pushes e3. Cover that f4 square. And now my pawn just gets rolling. Yeah, if he goes knight f6 to get out of the pin, well, once again, his knight's too far, too late. And I just push my pawn to victory here, win the knight, and he makes me work for it, makes me work a while. I double up my rooks, and I force a trade of rooks, and I just win his pawn slowly, and he resigns here. So I definitely made that way harder than it had to be. So I'm pretty disappointed with myself. Just playing d5 there, sacrificing the pawn, it's so bad. But also, I should have just taken the 2 rooks, sacrificed my queen for the 2 rooks, and I'm up 2 pawns. I'm up 2 pawns. I have the 2 rooks for the queen, easily winning. The counterplay is minimized, and I just should have done it, but I didn't. So disappointed with myself. I really should have played better that game, but a win's a win. And I enter round 8 with 7 out of 7, so I'm still leading the tournament. But you know, Ali, the guy I drew last round, he also has a perfect score outside of our draw. So now it's a battle. I'm winning each game. Ali is winning each game. Like, who's gonna win the tournament? So, anyways, I'm gonna hit the game review. I'll see you guys in the next one.